Following up on the success of the previous graphical overhaul, I decided to make another video focusing on what Skyrim truly is, a dark and grim province plagued by death, endless conflict and iniquitous events, by focusing on gloomy and horror-like elements with an end goal being enhancing the dark fantasy theme. As mentioned, the main idea is to overhaul in-game atmosphere by enhancing dark elements of the game while staying true to the original ambience and not drifting too far from the original theme the game presents to the player. We will achieve this by enhancing visuals, adding graphical enhancements, improving flora, and including atmospheric mods that will greatly cement a dark and dreadful ambience. Through these additions, the game will be dimmer and pleasantly desaturated, while introducing visuals and in-game overhauls that are lore-friendly and do not deviate heavily from the original game. For starters, I wanted to briefly mention a mod that has been sitting in my Lord order for 4 years now, and that surprisingly got a huge update a week ago after sitting in stasis for years, and that's Skyrim Immersive Creatures. As this mod doesn't fit the visual overhaul criteria, but thematically absolutely deserves a place in this video, I decided to include it. However, rather than individually showcase all the creatures, incorporate some of them in the background throughout the whole video. With that said, we will lay the foundation by overhauling all the settlements in the province by starting with previously covered cities of the north. While this overhaul hasn't been made with dark theme in mind, thematically the unique and Nordic-inspired architecture is a perfect fit for this visual change. The mod focuses on overhauling settlements that originally contains frequently used farmhouse assets, making them unoriginal and quite dull to visit. With Morthal, Dawnstar and Winterhold covered by COTN, we will move on to the Great Cities series. The Great Cities doesn't have as much unique architecture like COTN, however, cleverly uses in-game assets to improve upon these minor towns and makes additions that are lore-friendly and plausible for the location they occupy. For example, Falkreath will have their graveyard considerably expanded and Halls of the Dead drastically enhanced. Kynesgrove and Ivarstead will have their own halls and sacred trees dedicated to Kyne, a chief goddess of the Nordic pantheon, as holy grounds for pilgrims to pursue their religious endeavors. Additional voice-acted NPCs are included, making it more believable through dialogue and interaction. Karthwasten will have its architecture greatly influenced by Breton culture, turning a mining town into a local community hub, and Shor's Stone will remain a mining town, but now at the throat of a small hill with erected ancient headquarters for the Companions of the Rift. Even Mixwater Mill will be improved with unique buildings, and other than that, we will add Rodryk's Dragon Bridge, Skyrim Riverwood for JK Skyrim, ClefJ's Half Moon Mill, and expanded cities Darkwater Crossing. All of this architecture will be visually enhanced by Skyline Texture Overhaul, improving all cities covered and beyond. We will continue on by putting focus on one of the most important aspects of this visual change that will drastically overhaul outdoor areas throughout landscapes of the province, including all Skyrim's biomes. Flora plays a huge role in presenting the player with certain atmosphere, and as the game has aged quite a bit, it's understandable that it used a single tree model and very little grass as its vegetation choice. We will fix this with the new high-quality models that do not deviate too far from original trees, adding appropriate blanket of grass, as well as diversified tree variety throughout the landscape. Our first addition will be Northern Grass, a lush grass blanket mod that maintains a cold aesthetic and greatly fits the dark fantasy theme. The tree replacer of choice will be a little tree mod, a work-in-progress project with high-quality tree models resembling the original design. Expanded tree variety will be accomplished with dark forests of Skyrim, and it is a perfect final touch for the theme we're going for today. With this comprehensive dark fantasy style flora overhaul, the outdoor atmosphere will drastically change into gloomy and unwelcoming terrain. Equally important is to touch upon the snowy landscapes of the province, and these three mods do an exceptional job at overhauling cold regions. My favorite part about this change is the fact that most of the flora will stay true to the original game, while also adding varied plant life on top, providing a perfect mix of preserving an original presentation of the game with added abundance of biome-dependent dark and somber vegetation. In order for the dark fantasy theme to be presented in the best possible way, the introduction of dark color palette, subtle lighting and grim tones provided by the weathers and skies becomes the most important element of this overhaul. As we have improved vegetations of Skyrim, sadly the original game's atmosphere leaves a lot to be desired when accentuating this particular change. The dark and grim forests alone look extremely nice and drastically improve the somber element, but needs an additional reinforcement in order to fully capture the dour ambience and provide forests and plains with misty and sinister tones. Achieving this goal would be led by mods that changes the weathers of Skyrim, overhauls the lighting techniques used by the game's engine, as well as an appropriate ENB to cement this objective. First, we will add dynamic volumetric lighting for improved shadow casting, followed up by a seasonal dim and overcast obsidian weathers, supplemented by a dense mist added by supreme and volumetric fogs, and fully cemented by a bleak and gloomy ominous ENB. This mod combo is essential and a major driving element that fortifies our dark fantasy theme, and coupled with previous vegetation change, quite frankly provides a really impressive looking atmosphere to the game. We will also add Skygazer moons as a minor improvement for Skyrim nights. As far as the waters of Skyrim goes, the most complementary one to ominous ENB would be Realistic Water 2, a mod that provides lakes, marsh, ponds, rivers and oceans with orally and visually distinct appearance from one another, and perfectly fits the dark tones provided earlier. Snowy regions will be improved by Hyperborean Snow as a high quality snow texture mod made with 3D scans, and lastly we will include flying crows, a tiny visual and audible element as a convenient symbol of transformation and an emblem of a dark theme. As the big focus of the game contains ruins and dungeon exploration, interior visual overhaul becomes equally as important as all previous aspects of the change. As ominous ENB does extreme heavy lifting in providing the game, including interiors with subtle lighting, a choice of mods for interior brightness, contrast, and overall illumination becomes very important, as we do want to avoid too many crushed black areas. Our goal is to introduce as many light sources to interiors as possible, as dimly lit areas could result in overly dark atmosphere. An interior lighting overhaul Lux proved to be the best choice for achieving this particular objective. As a complete and consistent rework of all in-game interior areas, Lux takes advantage of the latest developments in ENB adds plethora of light source additions, and provides indoors with semi-realistic and dramatic presentation, perfect for a dark theme. With this lighting rework, interior areas will become darker and more dramatic, but minimize unlit areas with new light sources, which provides a perfect balance between dim enough to present certain atmosphere, but not overly dark to ruin the exploration experience. Because of this, ominous ENB gets perfectly complemented by Lux, and together, they provide a dark fantasy ambience. Additional benefit of using Lux as an interior lighting choice is a complete rework of Dwemer and Nordic ruins, with them being provided with new lighting techniques, improving visibility while preserving the dramatic presentation. Interior spaces in residential areas look extremely impressive with new lighting templates and new image spaces, as the mod further fixes overly bright and dark areas, introduces improved ambience beams as it fortifies the dark fantasy feel. The final piece to the puzzle will be ENB Light, a revolutionary mod that introduces a shadowed particle-based light sources for every object and action that would logically emit the light itself, and as a soft requirement for Lux, perfectly rounds up interior's presentation. With this final addition, the dark fantasy overhaul is complete, and personally the final product ends up being quite impressive, and from a thematic standpoint captures perfectly what it aims to achieve, and additionally provides an excellent base to expand upon. As we have reached the end of this visual overhaul, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you guys for the support given. This video took quite a bit of effort to create, and your support has made all of it possible, and if you feel like providing additional backing, link to my Patreon is below, a way to further contribute to the channel's growth. Consider subscribing to the channel if you find any entertainment value in these videos, as I'm still attempting to achieve that tough goal of eventually reaching 50,000 subscribers. If you got any additional ideas for visual overhauls, leave them down below and I may create a third transformation video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.